Let me in. He's coming.
So, this is a story for which I was very young. It was a few years after I was born, so I don't remember a whole lot, only bits and pieces. I'd say I was 5 or 6 years old. My parents filled in the gaps for me, so I'm going to tell the whole version of the story, both my parts and theirs. We were living in an old farmhouse at the time. My parents were poor, so they rented from a landlord that owned a few small properties in the area. My dad worked in the steel mill on the midnight shift, so he worked some odd hours. This is relevant because it might be the only reason that we are still alive and that I'm able to write this story today. Help! He's gonna rape me! Help me! We jolted out of bed and were fully awake in an instant. I was sleeping in bed with my parents at the time because I'd been having awful night terrors. My dad, who had just been switched from the midnight shift to days, jumped out of bed and cautiously made his way down the stairs, grabbing a stoking pick from the fireplace in the living room. He got to the door when he heard it again. Help! Oh my God, he's coming! The woman's voice on the other side of the door began sobbing hysterically. We have to help her. Open the door, said my mother. Mom is an inherently good woman who always goes out of her way to help people every single day of her life. She reached for the deadbolt, but my dad stopped her. He shot her a look and said cautiously through the door, "What's going on? Who's after you and where is he?" The voice through the door responded, "I just need to get in before he gets here. Please, please." More sobs. My father turned on the porch light and said, "Stay up on the porch with your back against the door." He then opened the deadbolt, but not the chain lock. He slipped a brick that we used as a doorstop through the crack. "Here, take this and use it to defend yourself if you need it. I'll be right on the other side of this door, and if he comes after you, I'll come out and help. In the meantime, I'm calling the police. They'll be here soon." This is when the woman started to absolutely lose her mind. She began slamming her whole body into the door with a mindless fury. "What the fuck is wrong with you? Let me in this goddamn house right now. What kind of fucking people are you?" My dad forced the door shut and clicked the deadbolt home again. He immediately called the police, and they came within 10 minutes. When they arrived, the woman was simply gone. The doorstop brick was sitting on one of the porch steps. My parents gave a description of the events, and the woman as best they could. We tried our best to get sleep in the following nights, but Mom and Dad checked all the locks and windows several times throughout the night. I don't remember understanding what happened, but I remember thinking that my parents were acting strange and wondering why they didn't help this woman. I thought the man snuck up and got her while we were calling the police. A few days later, we found that the police had been called for a similar situation. My dad's brother-in-law worked in law enforcement and told us that this time, the police had happened to have a car down the street and arrived without lights and sirens. The officers saw the woman that my parents had described at the front door on top of the porch, and when they began walking, a man dashed out of the bushes from the side of the porch. They chased him down pretty quickly and recovered a long kitchen knife from the bushes where he'd been hiding. The man and the woman had begun working together to try and gain entry to houses. The police surmised that the woman would get people to open the door and let her in, and then she would let her partner in. God only knows what they would have done once he got inside. Once I heard this story and put it together with my memories of the event, it sent chills down my spine. Imagine what would have happened if my dad had been working the midnight shift, or if he had been asleep. He grew up in a very bad neighborhood in Gary, Indiana, so he was always overly cautious about the people around him. Usually it was mildly irritating, but this time it may have saved our lives.
Thank you for listening, my valued guests. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe so we may spend many more evenings together. If you have any questions or critiques, please put them in the comments below and follow me on social media, as I truly love interacting with you all. Good night, lovelies. Thank you for listening.